Hey, we are live. So, hi everyone, welcome to the MEng Alumni panel. Today we have Anna, Zach, Ben, Gabrielle, and Josephine, who I think will be joining us later, who've come to share with us what they do and what life after Descent is like. So this is a panel. It's going to be mainly driven by the audience questions. So please send in your questions using the Q&A. And if you would like to actually speak, you can raise your hand and I can enable you to switch on your mics and you can join the conversation. So let's start. Anna, do you want to introduce yourself and we can just go around having everybody say maybe their name and the job and when they graduated?
Sounds good. So I'm Anna. I graduated in 2019. So that was, I think, about coming up to 2 years now. Since graduating, I worked, I was an intern first at Smart Design, a strategic design consultancy. And since then, I've been working at Google as an associate product manager.
Anna also was a finalist of the James Dyson Award.
A couple of years ago, yeah. From master's project from the design engineering degree.
Nice. Maybe Gabrielle, you can go next.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Gabriele Damone, and I've graduated in June 2020, so recently, and I'm a product design engineer at Microsoft at the moment.
And Zach?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Zach. I graduated in 2019. I worked as a graduate design engineer at Dyson, and then I left 5 months ago to start my own business making premium face shields for dentists.
Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a product manager at Cytera, and I graduated alongside Anna in 2019, so I've been working there for almost 2 years as well.
Nice. Okay, so if the audience wants to start sending in questions, please do. If not, while waiting, I can kick off by asking, maybe what advice would you give to your first year self from where you are now? Does anybody want to answer that?
I think probably work-life balance. I think it's very easy at Imperial to get very sucked into the projects, particularly on Descent, because most of the people on the projects genuinely love what we're doing. So it's very easy to say, oh, just one more hour, and before you know it, it's 1 a.m. and you're working, and that's not a healthy lifestyle. So I think I would tell my first year self to chill, basically, take a step back.
Okay, well, the audience questions have started, so I'll just read them out. What advantages and disadvantages did studying design engineering give you when you started your career? Does anybody want to take that?
The best thing about design engineering is you can go into like basically like any room and speak to all the people in there and have some idea what you're talking about. I think that's not completely true, because like I think you realize you talk to someone who's like studies biology and stuff, and they're completely in a different knowledge field than you. But you can go, I think, into any like technology company, Google, Microsoft, any of these things, and you can talk about the UI, you can talk about, and you can understand like the back end and like the whole stack, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, nice. And someone asks, was it hard to find work as a design engineer?
I would say I don't know if I have the right answer for this, because I don't think I tried to find work as a design engineer specifically. But when I was searching, which was for something with the title design engineer, which is about 2 years ago, what I found is that every company has a completely different definition of what design engineering means, as does pretty much every student on the course. So what everyone's looking for is slightly different. And I would say trying to find exactly what you want, at least 2 years ago, was a little bit of a struggle, but you'll find lots and lots of stuff that's very close to what you want. I think it's this, the idea of the dream job coming straight out of university was a little bit misleading, in that you'll find something close, but you're never going to find the exact thing that matches up with every checkbox on your list of what you want, kind of thing.
Yeah, I would add to that to say, essentially, as Anna said, go out and find the definitions in industry of what it is you're looking for. Don't go out looking for design engineering, ideally. Try as best as possible to know what you're looking for, and then go and find the terminology to support your search. Because yeah, it will be pretty unfruitful most of the time if you're just looking for the words design engineer, because there's so much variation.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I hadn't heard of the title of product manager until a year after graduating, and then discovered it described exactly what I was looking for, at least. Yeah. So just, I'm not sure how I would go about doing this, but knowing what the titles mean made a world of difference.
Yeah, nice. The next thing, what was your favorite thing about the course? I think it would be nice if everybody answered this. So maybe we can start with Gabrielle.
Right. Yeah, no, I actually wanted to add something else to what we were discussing.
Oh yeah, okay.
The fact, like, I've slowly realized that design engineering is not something that you can find in a job, but something you can bring to a job. And you won't necessarily find the design engineering position that you're looking for. But once you're into a specific position that you think might be interesting, that's when you're actually going to show the company and show the people you're working with how much value you can actually bring. And instead, answering your question about what was your question about the best design engineering kind of thing that I've learned?
Oh, just said, what was your favorite thing about the course?
Well, I think so. The favorite thing about the course was the fact that it's not overly specialized. I think we kind of live in a world where everyone thinks that in order to succeed or to excel at something, you need to be like super specialized. You need to focus on something, narrow down everything you're doing, and just focus on that single thing. While actually what design engineering shows you, it gives you that kind of breadth of experience that is gonna enable you to be way more creative and experience as many things as possible. And that's in the end what's gonna make you different compared to any other engineering course out there, I think.
Yeah, and Zach, what was your favorite part?
Well, I have a really big passion in robotics, and I thought it was just fantastic that actually, for some reason, a large portion of the design engineering kind of courses you take, but also the faculty are interested in robotics. Mm-hmm. I think that's because, robotics is just a super interesting field going into the future. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing all the computing courses and doing all that stuff. So that in that field, which was just fantastic.
Yeah, it's really amazing the level of research we have in robotics and computing that are just within the department. Anna, would you like to go next?
Sure. I think thinking back, my favorite thing about the course was probably the group projects, which I would say a lot of people would strongly disagree with me on, but I actually really enjoyed group projects. I think I probably learned more from just having to work in a team than I did from sitting down in lectures, because it mimics real working life much more closely than having to study for an exam. The skills I gained in actually learning how to study for an exam, I'm never going to use again, really. I'm never going to have to sit and memorize something again. But having those group projects where each person had a slightly different role was very realistic. And I quite enjoyed the dynamic of working with different people much more than working alone. I think by having a diverse skill set in a team, it made projects much more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one thing that's really emphasized in the course is working with other people. And Ben, what was your favorite part?
Yeah, Anna actually sort of nailed it for me there. It's very much about the breadth and the realities of real work. I think on reflection and seeing where some of my colleagues now have come from and stuff like that, it's important not to underestimate just how important it is once you leave the course, that experience. And that I mean, it's an education, sure, but it's about mixing social and work. The people you work with in the course are your friends. That many of them will be your friends for a very long time, and working out how to achieve that whilst also pulling off some pretty challenging projects. Thinking back, some of the projects, you know, from the robotics and the computing to some of the sort of really design heavy stuff, to all sorts of specifics in, you know, mechanical, electrical, or whatever. There's a lot of breadth we have to cover, and the fact that you pull it off and you manage to set up a strong social group, it's like it's invaluable. And I really enjoyed that. Actually, I'm really happy that I got to experience that, because I didn't go into the course knowing that was going to be a thing, but it was by far and away the most important thing to me afterwards.
Oh, thank you. And okay, the next question we have is, what are some unique experiences you got in studying design engineering that you wouldn't have got studying a normal engineering course?
I think some of the projects we do are just so unique to the course. I can't imagine them being done on a traditional engineering degree. I remember in our first year we had to build life-size models of autonomous vehicles, where they would build these huge things in the workshop out of plywood. And like, I think we learned a lot about that module was for human-centered design, I believe. And just by having to build this thing up, we learned so much about kind of like, how do you actually design for real people and different user groups? But I can't really imagine that happening on many other degrees, because it was very much the intersection of design and engineering. I don't think it would happen on a streamlined degree.
Yeah, definitely. Does anyone else have something they want to add to that?
I think a really great thing on our course, I'm not sure if it changed. Were you going to speak, Gabby? Did I cut you? I was waiting. There's like you have a lot of free time. I'm not sure if it's changed, but maybe 2 lectures or even less a day. Whereas my roommate in mechanical engineering had like 5 lectures a day for like very long periods of time. So they're just like cramming information down your throat. But in DesEng, I think you can have a lot more, you're able to select actually what you kind of do with your time, which I think is wonderful. But it's a double-edged sword, so use that wisely.
Yeah, and Gabby, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say that I think literally every project we've done was kind of a unique experience in the way the actual project was structured. In many engineering courses, you might end up doing some really specific projects that focus on technical details, and you're going to do that also in design engineering, but it's what's going to happen maybe at the end of each project or during each project. You're going to start from solving a specific problem. You're going to engage with the user. You're kind of solving the problem. And then you're going to present it. You will have to pitch it. You'll have to do also some kind of some business aspects. And because having an idea is, we all have ideas, we all have good ideas, but actually executing it and then managing to transfer the actual value of the idea to someone else is the real challenge. And that's something that I think only this course can really teach you.
Yeah, thank you. Shall we go to the next question? So what are the differences that made you choose to work for a big company compared to a smaller company?
Whatever job I could find. Yeah, I think that's probably the best. You should probably work in both. And I think, generally the best approach for job application is just, well, take it as it comes and see what's the best thing you can do when you lay out across all your options.
Yeah, I think on the small versus big, it's at least when I first set out, I didn't really have clarity on what the implications of going to a small company would be like. I think so. I did my 6-month placement at Tyson, so I got a snapshot of a big company. On reflection, now I've been a year and a half at a small startup from around the size of 6. We're now about 14. It's shown really that what the pros, but especially the cons are of a small company. So previously I thought, small company was the best, it was most flexible, I had the most room to grow and stuff like that, which is all certainly true and definitely the pros of a small company. Whereas in the big company, you sort of have to fit in a bit more and sort of follow some of the more preset parts out. The cons, though, of a small company that sort of really shouldn't be underestimated is the threat to the work-life balance that you may so desperately try to curate, and the demanding nature that it can really have. I mean, all companies, all jobs, there'll be demanding nature, but the level of exposure and the lack of protection you'll have to that those pressures will become really evident in a small company.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a perspective that somebody just looking to apply to jobs wouldn't know until they've actually experienced it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, would I have changed my mind? No. Sorry, Anna.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, I think from my perspective, I obviously work at quite a big company now. And I think my decision making for what company I wanted to work at wasn't based on the size of the company itself, but the kind of company culture. Because I think you can have two small companies and two very big companies, and it can be like night and day. They can have completely different kind of working culture. As Ben said, like work-life balance is completely different at big companies. And I imagine different startups also have different experiences. So in my personal opinion, that wasn't necessarily something I was looking at. I was looking more at the culture.
One benefit of going to a big company is you can kind of, well, you can learn a bit, which is also dangerous because you don't want to be tied down, but you can learn a lot about best practice, how things are actually done. It's quite interesting. How does Google actually do Google? Like that's something quite useful to learn. And then there's always space to go. Well, yeah, I think you can go down, probably you can downsize at any point in your career and just start your own company. But maybe it's not true that if you want to go more big companies, well, often if you just join a big company at any point, you're at the bottom. But that's probably not completely true either, but yeah.
Yeah. Gabrielle, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Nothing specific. I think
Okay.
I have experienced both, and I found pro and cons in both. I found both equally exciting, honestly. But I think my choice, at least, was really similar to what Anna said. If you're excited about what a company brings out to the market and the way they do things, then that's probably a good fit.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think basically all design engineers, it'd be cool if like 90% or something like that of the cohort, like you look in 10 years and like everyone should start their own company. I really think that if that's something you want to do, because I think that's what the design engineering skill set's about. It's about being like a multidisciplinary thinker, being like an Elon Musk, many Elon Musks.
I agree.
Okay, next question. Someone asks, how well has your skills translated from the course to the industry?
I think this is actually quite related to the next one as well. Can you branch into other fields? And there's a mention in the chat as well of does the breadth come at the expense of depth of knowledge? And is this a problem in engineering careers?
Maybe we can try to tackle all these at once.
Yeah. I you know, from my personal experience with the people I'm working with, I've worked with the last year, I'd say mostly no, but this is a very personal, a very individual type answer, unfortunately. One thing is a given, is unless you have patents, have running companies, and have raised money from VCs and stuff like that. You know, some of the most challenging things that you will never learn in a structured education environment is you will have a ton of stuff to learn from everyone else that you meet. And so unless you're really looking to specialize, which I would argue maybe isn't true because you were interested in the idea of design engineering, I wouldn't worry about the specialization aspect. even in small companies, but especially large companies, there are going to be plenty of people with a lot of expertise, knowledge, and it's just about finding them, getting to know them, setting up a good sort of working relationship and learning from them. I mean, if you're interested in it, you have plenty of time, like plenty of time to build up the skills that you're interested in and work out what skills you're interested in. And you shouldn't worry about optimizing at uni level to ensure that you have all the skills. You just need to show that you can learn skills effectively, well, fast. You can balance priorities well. Yeah. What do you guys think?
What's the only thing if there is one thing I agree with Ben, like actually that's a good point. What you learn in university is probably such a small fraction of what you'll actually need to learn. But I think people skills are something that you'll always will just come back again and again. So yeah, investing in that, knowing how to do group projects effectively, it's always kind of the things that you're not marked on that actually matter the most.
I agree. And I think the main thing you said, Ben, that resonated with me is I think I definitely underestimated how much you can learn on a job. You don't need to be fully prepared for a job. No one expects you to be. And I think I learned so much just as I was going, as I started, which I think design gave me a very good foundation for those things. And I don't think the things I've learned since then could have been incorporated in a degree because it's all just real life experience type things. Are we also answering, can you branch into other fields from design engineering right now? Is this the same question? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want, we can finish this one and we can talk about that one next. It was just kind of related. Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll pause then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then now let's ask the question. Can you branch into other fields from design engineering?
Well, what I was going to say was I think definitely yes. I think design engineering gives you such a good foundation in so many different things that it allows you to learn more in whichever direction you want to go. I definitely felt that I pivoted from, I think it was only in my final year that I realized I was really interested in anything software related and had a sudden U-turn essentially. So I made my master's project directed in that direction, having never really done that much software before. And I think it completely allows you to do that change throughout the degree and even afterwards. I think it's very, very doable to pick up something you learned before and build on it.
Design engineering, I think, basically allows you to lead your career and life more in a way of what's an interesting problem I want to solve, and then just take your massive toolbox and try to solve it. Yeah, I think that's quite cool. So, and once you have the problem you solve, I think then the question is, what's the best way to solve that? That's going to require you to, if you want to really find the best solution, go into a whole bunch of different fields, but that's okay because you can do that.
Yeah, I think on that I want to add the fact that as I was, for example, looking for jobs coming out of uni, but also before for internships and stuff, I realized that pretty much for any company in the world, you're gonna have some projects that are gonna kind of fit what they're doing, from like robotics project to more software one to pure design to interaction, just user research. And so even if at some point you'll want to change your career, even after 1-2 years that you started, you'll be able to grab that stuff that you've actually done at uni and already show, look, I've already done so much stuff in this field, even if it was not what I was already doing before. So, and that is worth noticing that you don't need to know all of that when you come into design or to apply to become a design engineer. Like I knew nothing about software or pure electronics, but learned that in the course for sure.
Great, thanks. So someone asks, being interested in sustainability, what elective modules would you recommend I take? What other courses or clubs at Imperial would you recommend that I join? That's quite specific, but if anybody here had a strong interest in sustainability, maybe you could answer that.
I don't wholly remember what specific modules were, if I'm completely honest, but I would say the projects, the briefs are usually very open and allow you to tailor your project to whatever you're interested in. And I think it's very common that people are very interested in sustainability and will guide their project that way. There may be specific sustainability modules that I'm not remembering, but I think it was more about guiding the existing project brief in a sustainability direction.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just the whole point of the open format of projects and especially group projects. Yeah, that brilliant piece of advice there. Just take it, steer it in the way you want, and lean into the ambiguity, because the ambiguity isn't going to get any better. The ambiguity is only going to get worse. So just get comfortable with working out what values are important to you and what you think are valuable to customers and people out in the real world, and then work to get the results for it, really. Yeah, sorry, I don't remember the electives either.
And I think with that, it's probably really, I would highly recommend that you find the other people in Imperial who are also interested in sustainability. It's a fantastic time to meet people in different disciplines that have similar interests. And that's like very great combination. Then they can become your co-founders in like 2 years' time for your sustainability startup.
Great, thanks. So, okay. I think this has been a little bit talked about before, but maybe we could just answer it again since someone asked. What advice would you give to someone who's about to start the course? And what are things you wish you knew about design engineering, Imperial, and life experiences?
Echo what Anna said earlier. Just know what you're getting into with Imperial. Right, you try and put it into perspective of like the country, the other top universities around the world that you're going to be, compared against. Like, just know what it is. It is an intense, high performance environment where you're surrounded by people who all really want to do well. They want to do well. They want to learn from each other. They want to do good in the world, right? And try to avoid getting caught up in the negative aspects of that, which is, things like work-life balance. I think that's a fair point, and not sort of drowning in the work or thinking that the work is so important or one particular deadline is so important. Try and remain as objective and gather as much perspective as possible on that. That'll serve you for a long time.
Yeah, I think something else I would add is that something I would say myself if I was starting the course right now is that once you get accepted into Imperial, into this course, which is like focusing on innovation, on solving problems, you start thinking, actually, yeah, I'm already, right? I'm an innovator. I could be an entrepreneur. I could be that Elon Musk that Zach mentioned, right? And you definitely have some of those skills, right, that could take you there. But what's important is to always avoid to fall in love with your ideas. You're gonna have many ideas, and you're gonna start thinking that those ideas are definitely the best. Well, you should keep kind of asking people about it. Like, try to avoid asking your mom, your sister, your brothers. They're gonna tell you that it's amazing. Try to ask to your friend, not too close friends. Try to ask real people about it, and always try to improve, because if you are not going to criticize your idea early on, then it's never going to have the opportunity to actually grow into something real. And second thing, don't be afraid about the confusion and ambiguity that we said before. That's going to be at the beginning of the course, because they're going to throw you so many different things from so many different kind of engineering fields, and you will have to kind of keep all these balls in the air. But it's going to be worth it. It's going to be very, very fun.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. I might take some of that on board, even though I'm on the third year of the course already. Something else someone asked. Yeah. What do you do in your day-to-day job? So I think that would be nice for everyone to answer. Maybe Zach, you can go first. Starting a business, what's that like?
Great. Well, I found, I was at Dyson before, and I was kind of working very hard and working on weekends and kind of all the time anyways. So I think, if that's what you like to do, then you might as well just kind of if you're going to be working hard, you should just be working on things you really want to do. In terms of what it is now, Here's the product, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it flips up, and the plastic has like an anti-reflective coating, so it's super clear. But yeah, it's basically, well, it's just, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's kind of like I have an end goal, what I want to achieve, and yeah, I think it's great. Like 3 months ago, we were in Fusion 360, like designing these green parts. Then it was contacting suppliers on Alibaba to source this head harness component. Then it was doing negotiations to try to get the price of this plastic down, which you're going to be shocked how much this plastic costs if I told you. Then it was making like a website, doing the graphic design for the website, making a marketing plan, going into offices, talking to customers, on and like, yeah, just a lot of things. Yeah, which I like that diversity.
Great.
And as Ben noted before, prior to doing this, I'd never done anything of this before, which is I think one insight I think I've had is you should start working on the things that you want to do quite early. Well, I think it's helpful if you start working, early in your career, because then the things that you'll start to do are the things that are relevant to what you want to do. So like now I'm learning a whole bunch about kind of doing things like this. And in 5 years' time, I'll probably want to be doing something similar to this. But if I was continuing in Dyson, I was becoming a better Dyson engineer, not necessarily becoming a better, I don't know, face shield, more of an entrepreneurial skill set.
Gabrielle, would you like to talk about a day in your job?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think it's worth doing also a compare. Yeah, to first of all state that what I'm doing now is not necessarily what everyone as a design engineer.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll have very different jobs and very different things. And I will tell you also about my experience actually doing an internship first at Apple, still as product design engineer, but I was working on mainly in a team of mechanical engineers. So a team of quite specialized mechanical engineers, which were building a future Apple product, but a product that Apple had already decided that they are going to release in a specific year. So the product was defined. I had to kind of, my role was to kind of turn the vision of the industrial designers into a reality and try to make that actually feasible. So that was that kind of job. What I'm doing now instead is more, I'm working at an earlier stage. So I'm not working on any product that will definitely be released as a Microsoft product, but I'm working one step before. So I'm kind of working with people, again, that are quite specialized and are working on some technologies. And I'm trying to envision and kind of think how could these technologies be transformed into Microsoft products. So also in this job, in the end, I'm not just doing the design and engineering stuff, but you also kind of need to learn and start thinking what's the best way to pitch it to the product groups in order to make a successful transition from R&D to full release. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, we're just interested in hearing everybody's perspective of what they do now. So Anna, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I'm now an associate product manager, which I had no idea what that meant before I started. So the whole thing's been a learning curve. On my day-to-day, I essentially work in a team at Google of UX designers, software engineers, user researchers, and a couple of other product managers. And we essentially work together to try and build the next part of the product we're on. And my role as the product manager is about defining what should that next feature or next product actually be. And then kind of getting I do a lot of data analysis to kind of back up my arguments of this is why I think we should build this thing. And then it's a lot of, my actual day-to-day is a lot of talking. It's a lot of meeting with people and essentially convincing people this is what I think we should build next. And once you have buy-in about following the executions through, making sure it gets built, and then tracking metrics once it's actually launched to ensure that it is working as you intended. and nothing's gone wrong essentially. But I think one of the things I enjoy that I think Zach, you mentioned, was the day is so varied. No 2 days are the same, which I really enjoyed and was something I hadn't previously enjoyed about being like a design engineer. Was something that I hadn't loved because it was quite monotonous for me, at least. So having this variety, because you're on lots of different projects at the same time, because there'll be one product manager assigned to say 5 projects, it means no 2 days are the same. So yeah, I enjoy the variety. I imagine Ben's answer is going to be relatively similar, since we're both product managers, I believe.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, really the difference there is you're at a very big company and I'm a very small company. So unfortunately, as much as I'd love it, we're quite constrained on resource, but that kind of just means that I will have to jump into some of those tasks because the person doesn't exist yet, which is, yeah, incredibly varied, from user research, usability testing with any prototypes, helping build up prototypes themselves, as well as thinking about industrial design and product experience and how the technical architecture is going to evolve and whether it's going to fit, the vision that you sort of have to generate. I think as a product manager, to be motivated, you kind of need to be able to build up a vision, and it has to be fairly holistic. It won't be particularly detailed because that's what everybody else is there to help the company get it over the line. But it's that element of convincing somebody that we're onto something really good and showing them the proof that it's going to be really good. Yeah, I think Anna put it very well.
Yeah, great, thanks. Another question, do you have any recommendations on how to make your job applications or portfolios stand out when you're applying for internships and graduate jobs?
Do something different. Joanna.
Was that multiple things there, like the portfolio and, sorry, I missed the...
So just to make your applications, including your portfolio, stand out when you're applying for an internship or for a graduate job. Yeah,
I'll say one thing that I did, which is a robotics company in London called Automata that made a very low-cost robot. And I really wanted to work with these guys. So I made a 2 degree of freedom arm, which it's like on a piece of paper and you have one link and a link like that. And then I made a Python script that made it draw the words hire me. And they previously rejected me, but then I sent that video to the CEO and then I got the job after that.
Wow.
That's fantastic. I don't think my advice is nearly as exciting as that at all. I was going to say, make sure you tailor your CV to the job you're applying for, because no 2 jobs are the same. I was very unsuccessful in my job applications during my final year of university because I had this scattergun approach where I was just applying to anything and everything with the same CV. And unsurprisingly, or surprisingly at the time, unsurprisingly now, no one was getting back to me. And I think it's because I was sending out these boilerplate, like identical CVs to everyone. And then as soon as I took a step back and I think I did 4 applications and I spent ages making sure each CV was perfect for that role, I was much, much more successful. So I think basically tailoring to what the job you're applying for is was the biggest thing that helped me.
I expand that to say, in terms of the materials you're preparing, obviously CVs are given and cover letters is usually recommended. But for example, a design portfolio is not necessarily right for everyone. So make sure the materials that you're preparing are relevant as well. I'm not sure about you guys, but I put together a design portfolio for my 6-month placement type thing, but after that it kind of went stale. Then I took it down and I never had it after that because I was using other materials instead to try and market myself, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree with what I think pretty much everyone said, and it's important to tailor it because you're gonna have a lot of experience projects. You might have had already some experiences in different kind of fields, And if you throw all of that in one single CV for one specific job application, they're just going to be confused. And even if you have maybe let's say you want to be a mechanical engineer, but you have those kind of two industrial design experiences, even if you have amazing mechanical, they might think, oh, but maybe it's a bit too designish, he might not like that. And so they might change, you might put them off. So it's important to show your, like, the value of all of how kind of generalist and the breadth of your experiences. I think once you get into the company, at that point, they will actually see how much value they've got, but not everyone is ready at the moment to kind of absorb all that information at once. So they want to see more special. But the advantage is that you can apply to way more jobs than anyone else, because you will be able to tailor it to so many different jobs rather than just one.
I completely agree, and it feels horrible cutting out like sometimes over 50% of your CV, because I was applying to a software role, so I cut out literally everything that wasn't to do with software. And then you look at the CV and you think, this doesn't really represent me very well, but it represents me well in the eyes of this particular recruiter. And then in the interview or after you're hired, that's when you reveal, oh, I can do all this other stuff. But just to get noticed, I found that cutting out half my skills actually helped.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Oh, someone asked, did you ever consider doing a postgrad studies? Did you ever think about it? No, I've seen a couple of shaking heads. Oh, Ben, you're muted, I think.
Yeah, I did for a bit. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason I didn't was it was pretty clear in my head that whatever it was that I was going to do next, I had to be 100% committed to it. I had gone through one or two projects towards the end, to the latter part of design engineering, which I hadn't been too inspired about, and was just kind of sort of getting done and just trying to learn from it. But the work I was doing, what it was all for, showed me that if I don't have that, essentially everything sort of goes downhill. Motivation goes downhill. You don't feel as excited to learn about stuff. You don't push yourself as much. And so the only reason I didn't choose to do postgraduate studies is because I didn't meet my own internal bar on excitement and drive to do that, to achieve that goal. And therefore it's like, it's not gonna be worth it for me. And that's pretty much how I measure my threshold of what I sign up for. Is I'm only going to sign up for it if I'm excited by it and it's going to motivate me, because that way I know I'm going to be carried through by drive. Because I think the most important thing to me at least, and we're looking back on design engineering, it's only 4 years. Oh gosh, is time. Just use your time as wisely as possible, because everything moves so quickly at the end of the day. You always find yourself looking back on things being like, wow, that was quick. I hope I maximized it, right? You don't really know, you just hope that you did the best you could. So just try and use time wisely. And if you're excited by that, then maybe that's a great option.
Yeah, thank you.
Another thing that relates to, I think, is, which I think it's a lot of, maybe you've heard, well, I get the sense a lot of people here, like Ben's talking about vision and stuff like that. I think that's kind of maybe like one stream. And I do think that's everyone in design engineering who wants to step up and do that can basically do that, can set a vision and motivate people to say that's the right thing to do and get people to also want to do that. Yeah, I think doing a PhD, well, I used to always think, I've always felt like I wanted to be a very technical person, and I needed to be very technical, do a PhD in robotics or something to be able to set a very compelling vision that had to do with robotics. I think that's actually not the case at all. And so, yeah, I think you just have to think, what's the PhD actually going to let you do that you can't do without it? Certainly, I think you need to be working, like you can learn to work really well with PhDs. Then you don't need a PhD, right? There's lots of different solutions. You don't necessarily need to have all the knowledge in your head. Maybe you just become a better team player.
Yeah, thank you. So we have another question, which I personally think is quite interesting because I'll have to do it next year. How did you come up with your master's project? And in your opinion, what makes a good project? Does anybody want to start?
I think we might all agree on this, is that I didn't know what my project was going to be when I started. I didn't have like a stroke of innovation and think this is the best idea I've ever had, I'm going to make this. I think I started by trying to identify a problem rather than the solution, if that makes sense. It's such a cliche, though. You'll hear that 1,000 times on DesEng. But I knew I wanted to be in the medical space just because I'd previously enjoyed medical projects on design engineering. I didn't actually know where medical is huge. I had no idea what disease I even wanted to be working with. So I kind of narrowed down to what I was familiar with, which was either, my original project was to do with allergies. I kind of looked into that space and found actually there's a lot of work already in this space. It'd be a really crowded market to go into. So I started looking at adjacent fields, which is why I ended up in asthma, which, even though I was slightly less familiar with the disease itself, I could see clear gaps that could be filled with a product that hadn't yet been invented or worked on or researched. So I was kind of looking for where is the gap in the market where I'm not going to run into a huge number of competitors, was how I came to the eventual product solution.
Great, thanks. Does anybody else want to share how they thought of their, like, what was the process coming up with their master's project?
Maybe I can share my experience, which is actually quite different, because I had some ideas and some kind of problems I wanted to solve. None of them was particularly convincing me, but it happened that a visiting professor, Nick Munro, which is also an amazing designer, has came up with a project idea. He wanted to make a better performing and indoor air quality monitor for commercial buildings. And he didn't just want to maximize the performance, but also to make it I say revolutionary from the design point of view, in the way it explained people when the air quality was good, when it was bad, which is actually quite relevant now with all this pandemic stuff. And so it was the first time that actually, and then I jumped onto that project, and it was the first time that I was not starting necessarily from a problem, but I was starting directly from kind of what I had to do. And I think it's something that helped me in the end, because it's something that once in industry is going to happen, that you won't necessarily have to start from the problem, but they're going to tell you what you need to kind of improve, maximize, and design for. And there are some advantages also in this. Definitely, I won't. I'm not telling you go and ask people for other people's idea and try to make them reality, because there's something beautiful about starting from a problem and creating a solution. But I found that in the end really, really exciting. And actually, we just concluded a round of investment of 150K with that project, and so it's gonna soon it's gonna get into the market, hopefully. As well. And yeah, so there could be it starts as a master project, but do something where you could also see yourself continuing after. Sure.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And Nick is actually joining us on Thursday to give a talk, if anybody here would be interested in attending that. Yeah. So we have 5 minutes left. If Zach and Ben, if you want to continue talking about your master's project, we can. If not, we can just maybe give a round of closing comments.
Yeah, I'll just make us a plug. If anyone in the audience is very interested in solving big world problems using a robotics lens, then please get in contact with me. That's what I want to be doing in the future.
Great. Well, we'll have your LinkedIn on the open house website under this event. So if anybody wants to get in contact with Zach, you'll be able to find it there. And yeah. Does anyone else have any closing comments?
Yeah, just generally feel free. I think you can speak for anybody here. We're really happy to field any questions. So you can reach out personally if you'd like to. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that was definitely a very insightful event. And thank you guys so much for being here and talking to everybody about what you do now and how Desmond just helped you get there. Yeah, so I think we can call it a day. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And thanks for all of your questions.
Thanks for organizing.
Beautifully organized. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.